3, 2, 1. Mr. Foo Howser,
Yo,
what's up, dude?
what's up, brother? How's it going, man?
Good, and yourself?
Good, man. Good.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you for inviting me, man.
You have been the single-handedly most requested to come back to the Mind Buzz.
Damn, that's an honor, man. Thank you.
So where are you going to take us today?
Wherever you want to go, man. as long as it's in California.
So, Mr. Foo Howser, Javier Servin, has a podcast now, Californiography. Tell me about your podcast.
Yeah, no, it started as a way to talk about the videos in a little more in depth, because I'm making like 2-3 minute videos and it's real easy to go off on tangents. So, you kind of condense it out to 2 or 3 minutes. But on the podcast, I'm able to talk a little more in detail about certain things, or sometimes after the fact, when you post it, somebody's like, oh, you know what, actually, this happened there, or this person was involved somehow. And then that's information that I didn't know when I was doing my research. So I'm able to go back and add a little more like context to some of the videos, or like I said, those little tangents I tried to like reel myself in. I'm able to go off on the tangents in the podcast.
Dude, so all your podcast episodes now, are they recycled content from your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so like the first 3 episodes were me talking like about one video per episode, and then the last one that I did was basically talking about programmatic architecture. So I have like 3 or 4 videos that deal with programmatic architecture. So I was able to talk about a little more in depth about what it is, and then kind of take a little road trip in the podcast and kind of go to 4 different stops and then talk a little more in depth about each one of the buildings.
So you actually go to the sites?
That's my thing, man, is that that's the one rule I have, is I have to, when I film something, I have to go there. So I know that it'd be real easy for me to like, and not to, talk smack about, whatever, but it's like, I know I could
you could talk smack. It's fine. This is why we have the podcast.
Yeah. I'm trying to be diplomatic, like Switzerland, But, no, it's the thing is that I know that I could, it's actually kind of selfish too, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like I know I could make more content if I just did a green screen, or I took like stock footage of a place, or whatever. But I like to go to all the places to talk about because one, it gets me to get out of the house and go to these places. But there's a thing that and I don't remember who said it, but there's this thing called like history of place. So it's like, you standing there where the place is or where the history took place. There's something about it. You kind of, I nerd out about that kind of stuff too. It'd be like, oh man, like, in this spot 100 years ago, this happened, or, whatever. And then the other thing too, for me is the videos I do, there has to be some sort of like remnant of the place. So like a plaque that says, hey, this happened here, or like the actual building, or, something that ties you back to what happened there. Cause there's a lot of things that people have said, oh, you should do a video about this, or you should do a video about that. But there's nothing left. There's like no plaques. There's no like monument. There's no remnants of any of that. And so for me, it's trying to get people excited about history, to be able to go somewhere and be like, hey, like there's that plaque he was talking about, or there's that tree he was talking about, or there's that building. And I can actually stand there and look at it, or look at that plaque and imagine what was here, as opposed to being like, oh yeah, you see this dirt lot, this was here, and then there's like nothing, there's nothing left there. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the thing is about, with history, is that if you can somehow make it tangible to people, I feel like that makes it a little more interesting, for them, as opposed to just saying, oh, a bunch of dates, bunch of names, but there's like nothing for you to like visit or sort of feel that history. I feel that's what makes people more interested. If there's something tangible that you can see or touch.
And what is it called? It's called the History of Place?
Yeah, it's History of Place. So it's basically like, it's sort of that thing that like places are more than just like spots on a map. Mm-hmm. Like it's sort of like this spot, this history happened here. And for me, like a year ago, my wife and I went to Jalisco, to, on just a vacation for our anniversary. Was it our anniversary? I think it was for our anniversary. Yeah, it was our anniversary.
You better get it right, dude, if she's listening.
Well, actually, we just celebrated. We've been together 18 years.
Congratulations,
thank you, man! And we celebrated 10 years of marriage last week, and we took a little road trip up to Northern California.
Nice, dude.
But
Congrats.
thank you, man. But yeah, we went to Jalisco and what's that? Dude, I'm tripping. You know, I'm misremembering stuff. But the fact is, we went to Mexico. I think it was actually when we went to San Miguel de Allende. So it was for a different reason. It was a few years ago. We went for a wedding, and on the way through Guanajuato, we stopped by this church. And when the Mexican independence movement was going on, you know, the father Miguel Hidalgo, they walked through this church and there's this path, and the tour guide was telling us that. And for me, like, to stand there in that spot where these people marched through on the way to kind of, you know, sort of, you know, fight for their independence, to me, that's like man, like I'm standing in the place where that happened. You know what I mean? That to me is sort of that history of place. It's like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, whatever it is, this happened here. And, you know, there's something, you know, to be said about that energy in that place, or like the vibes in that place, to be like, man, like this place is historic. You kind of sort of feel the weight or like the heaviness of that history when you stand there. Yeah.
So when you brought up and you described history of place, dude, the only thing that comes to mind for me is recently I went to Tale of the Pup.
Yeah.
And there's a plaque on the restroom inside the restaurant that says, I don't know if we could pull it up on my IG, Amber, that says Jim Morrison recorded the vocals of LA Woman inside this restroom. And it was awesome. Amber she was the one that found the plaque, and I was like, no, fuck. She was like, Gilbert, go check this out. And I looked at it and I was like, this is fucking amazing. And then we were looking at it after, right? And we were like, there's no way. It was kind of weird because it's a hot dog and corn dog place. And we're like, he didn't come to this building just to record the vocals of it.
We thought it was still like the hot dog place. We didn't know it was their studio before.
Yeah.
So how did that make you feel? Like when you stood there and there was a plaque telling you that you're standing in the spot where the Doors and like Jim Morrison, like how did that make you feel?
It was amazing. I went to the restroom. I wanted to eat my corn dog in the restroom, dude. I was gonna tell the cashier, I was like, dude, hey, bring me all our food. We're gonna eat in the restroom, guys. Come on, Amber. Did you find it?
No, you don't have it on your Instagram.
Oh, I didn't. I didn't post it.
I mean, if you just you just Google it. No, but see, that's the thing is that's what I mean. Like that being able to be like, man, like this is the spot, you know, or like going somewhere like you know, we talked about this last time, and like the first McDonald's in San Bernardino, be like, this is a spot where this like fast food revolution happened. Going to the first Wiener Schnitzel, like the first Wiener Schnitzel is in Wilmington, and it's still there, it's still in operation. To be able to be like, man, like this one spot here is what set off that whole kind of thing. Like to me, that, you know, you felt that, so that's kind of cool that you kind of get what I'm talking about with the history of place.
Can you for some of our, like, someone that's listening to us like newer than when you were on before, can you kind of tell us what you do, like who you are and what you do?
So
some of our new listeners, that's what I was trying to say.
So my name is Javier Servin, aka Foo Howser. You know, Foo, because I always say, people, like, I grew up, you know, calling people Foo, so I like to say I'm everybody's homie. And Hauser is for the goat, Gill Hauser. So, you know, that's Foo Howser. But yeah, no, I basically just, I've always been interested in history, specifically California history. And last year I started making videos of just things that interest me, things that I've always been obsessed with. And so I just take one thing that interests me, and I just do the research, find a bunch of cool pictures, go out to the spots, you know, actually film there, and put videos together, and, you know, kind of distill them down to 2-3 minute, you know, little videos about the history of places or people, you know, that are interesting, that take place in California. That's why, you know, Californiography is the, you know, my handle on social and on YouTube. And it's a word I made up. You know, Californiography is basically the study of California. You know, like sort of geography or oceanography is a study of, you know, the ocean. Geography, the study of you know, maps and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just basically the study of California. And then, you know, they also like ography is also to like write it down or like put it down in some sort of medium. So, you know, it's making the videos of California and putting it together. So yeah, so that's what I do, is just when my wife used to say, like, you know, just nerd out on boring stuff. But she's my biggest supporter. She's the one that pushed me to do that. She goes with me a lot of times to where I go film these things, especially like museums. Like she's super into like architecture and like especially if we go somewhere like a Victorian mansion or something. She loves to see like period, like furniture, period decorations, that kind of stuff. But she doesn't really care so much about who lived there or what history happened there. But she likes architecture. So that's how I drag her in. I'm like, hey, like, look at this building. It's kind of cool. All right, let's go check it out. Yeah. But I was gonna say about the tail. Oh snap! My bad, dude.
It's all good.
The Tale of the Pup. So that place, that's like the third location for that place. Like it first it was over in it was on La Cienega, like in 1946 when it opened. And
so it got moved around then.
Yeah, so it got moved around.
The weenie is what gets moved around, right?
So the weenie got moved around. So the building where the Doors recorded, that building was their recording studio.
Right.
And then there was like a restaurant afterwards a few times. I think it was like a Mexican restaurant. I think it was a nightclub.
I seen a sushi restaurant was the last one, like a Japanese restaurant.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Before the hot dog place?
Yeah, before the hot dog.
Because literally, like the hot dog little building was the restaurant. Like that was it. It was like there was a person behind the grill making stuff there, and then just slanging hot dogs out of the window. But yeah, they opened in 1946. I think if I remember correctly, it was a famous dancing duo that owned it. And then afterwards, they sold it to some guy in the 70s. The spot on La Cienega where it was going to be developed into a hotel, so they had to move it. He moved it over to San Vicente near Cedars-Sinai Hospital. And then sometime in, I think it was like in the 80s. He moved it there in the 80s, and then later on he had to close down because they were going to build a bunch of condos there. So it closed, and then he put it in storage in Torrance, and then he actually donated it to the Valley Relics Museum, which is a video I've done about a museum over in Van Nuys. And it was there in store. It was there on display. And then there's this restaurant group called the 1933 Group, and they are really famous for like restoring historic buildings and kind of giving them second life. And they bought the building from the Valley Relics Museum, and they restored it, and they moved it to the location in West Hollywood. So they bought both buildings. They bought the hot dog building, and then they bought the building where the recording studio was, and then they did the whole revamp and restore. And so they're giving new life to these buildings. But yeah, that hot dog's been all over the place.
No pun intended, ladies and gentlemen.
There's the plaque.
There it is. The Doors Workshop. It served as an office and rehearsal studio for the Doors. The band used this space to record their 6th and final studio album, LA Woman. Yeah, dude. I was giddy when I read that, dude. I'm a big Jim Morrison fan. And even in the movie, like I was explaining this to Amber, I was like, even in the movie, it showed him. Have you seen the movie with Val Kilmer?
Val Kilmer, yeah, it was an amazing movie.
He it shows the scene where he's in the restroom and he's singing, and I explained that, but I had no clue that it was this restroom right there. Yeah, and then it has a picture right there. Yeah,
that's how we like we said, it wasn't until we left. Well, actually, Gill was recording the weenie, and I seen a plaque on the floor, but I have really bad eyesight, so I was like, I'll take a picture and then I'll read it in the car. So I took the picture on the one on the floor, and then we got in the car, and then I was like, I wonder what the plaque says, and then that's when it said that it was that the whole building was the recording studio, and he was like, oh man, and I'm like, I knew he didn't just go record in a hot dog, building, so we didn't get to like bask in the entirety that the whole building was there.
Yeah, but now you know. Now you got to go back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure we got to go back. But history of place, dude. That's I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, I don't remember where
because I feel it like it's a feeling. It's a concept, but it's also like a feeling. You feel it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like especially if you go somewhere where like heavy stuff happened, you can definitely feel
the energy.
Whatever. Yeah, but even something like that, like because you love the Doors and you like music and to be able to be like, man, like this is where Jim Morrison was. I mean, yeah, like that, and that's what I try to like put in the videos.
Even being in Venice, like even just walking down the boardwalk or just knowing that this is the spot where the Doors used to hang out. This is the beach they used to go to. Going to the Whiskey A Go Go, like going to different venues where all these other type of celebrities would be, like going to different stand-up comedy clubs, knowing that like the greats were there. You know what I mean? Like it's just there's something about it that's awesome.
Yeah, no, exactly. That and that's my hope with the videos is that and some people have told me that it inspires them to like, man, I got to go see this building now.
Yeah.
Or the other thing too that I really like that I've been trying to focus more this year is like working with museums or like historical societies, because those people that do that, they do it for the love of their city or for the love of whatever their museum's about. Most of the time, they're not getting paid; they're volunteers. And when I've made videos for like the Montebello, the Sanchez Adobe that I made a video about, or I made the last one that I put out for the Hay Tree in Paramount. For the Historical Society, like they're so stoked that somebody had any interest in that history, but then two, like to put the video together, because sometimes, it's like they run on a bare minimum, it's volunteers, and, a few hours, a few days of my work, it means a lot for them because they don't have that kind of money or that kind of budget to put this kind of stuff together, and so I make the videos, they give me permission to use that's one other thing too, I try to get permission to use the photographs, that I use in the videos if they're not in public domain. Try to get permission from the museums or like the libraries, and then put it out. And they're super grateful for it. And they post it on their website. They link to my YouTube, and they're just stoked that they have something to be able to be like. I haven't been able to put into words what we do, but now I can just point people to this video. Yeah.
Oh, that's good, dude. That's good. So, what did you do with the city of Paramount?
So I lived in Paramount for 8 years. My wife and I, after we got married, we bought a house in Paramount, and we lived there from 2013 to 2021. And again, I'm a history nerd, so I'm like, what's Paramount famous for? What's the history of Paramount? So I knew that this tree in Paramount was super famous. It's on the California Registry of Historical Landmarks. So Paramount's famous for being the center of like the dairy industry in the early part of the 20th century, and for being the home to the Zamboni machine. So, if you watch hockey, you watch ice skating, you see the machine that goes out there and resurfaces the ice. Paramount is home to the Zamboni. So those are the two things that I always would tell people when they come visit. I'm like, oh yeah, we used to be the biggest dairy market in all of Southern California, and we invented the Zamboni.
There it is.
Here it is.
That weird looking machine.
But it's used everywhere.
Yeah.
No,
right.
And that's the thing.
They even have a Lego. That's awesome.
And that's the great thing about it is that family, the Zamboni, Zamboni, I forget his first name, but Zamboni played a huge part in like Paramount becoming a city. Because
really?
Him and his family moved there pretty early on. They started as they would sell ice. They would make ice, for the farmers and vegetables and that kind of stuff. But then when refrigeration got better, they're like fuck, like we're screwed. Like we sell ice, and now there's all this high tech refrigeration. So then they were like, let's open up an ice rink. So they opened up Paramount Iceland. It was an open air skating rink. They quickly found out that open air skating rink in sunny California is a bad idea. So they covered it up. But when they used to resurface the ice, they used to be like 6 people with like a shovel, and it would take like 45 minutes to like an hour to resurface the ice. So this guy Zamboni, started tinkering. I believe he used an old Jeep, and he was tinkering, and he put his there's that picture right there of the open air.
Oh,
right there.
I had no idea it looked like that.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. And actually now it's owned by the LA Kings. So now it's called LA Kings Iceland. But it was, and that was fairly recently. That was like maybe like 2 years ago.
Yeah, we passed by this, Amber.
Yeah, it's right behind where we were.
We even passed by the tree too. Amber was just like, "Hey, look it's the tree. That's the tree that Javier was talking about."
I grew up in Paramount. I've lived in Paramount since I was 2 years old till like now as an adult. And honestly, I mean, I knew the Zamboni, but I didn't know like the tree. I didn't know what Iceland looked like before, like, and I kind of I think to myself like I wonder why, and I get it, right? The schools they're going by curriculum or anything like that, but they don't teach us the history of our own city, where we're sitting at, where we're going to school, what like you said, the dairy farms. We know the cows are there, so that's how I knew we were dairy farms. But I mean, I don't know anything deeper.
I think the only thing that I know about Whittier is that Richard Nixon went to the high school and he went to the college.
Yep. And that he had his first office when he became a lawyer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a building called the Nixon Building, and it's because that's the building he had his office in. And
then I guess Greenleaf, whatever his name, it's an actual like person.
Yeah, John Whittier Greenleaf. Yeah, he so basically the whole thing with Whittier is that it was founded by Quakers. Like a religious, religious group, and John Greenleaf Whittier was one of he was famous Quaker. So they said, "Hey, we want to name the city after you," and he was like, "Cool," But he never went to Whittier. Like he was like, "Yeah, cool, you guys can use my name." And he actually wrote a poem about Whittier, but he never visited. But yeah, they gave the name of the city Whittier. Whittier Boulevard's named after him, and yeah, Greenleaf is also named after him. But yeah, no, going back to like Paramount, yeah, like the Zamboni, like I said, he played a big part in Paramount becoming a city, and then the Zamboni's known worldwide. So it's always funny to me that like the Zamboni company has 3 offices. It's like one is like in Sweden, one is in I think Montreal, and then the other one's Paramount. And the family actually still lives there. Like the family still, like the Zamboni factory is still in Paramount. They still hand make all the Zambonis in Paramount. The Zamboni family still lives there. And they have, I think he has, Frank Zamboni.
Frank Zamboni. Yeah,
he's got an elementary school named after him. So yeah, he played a huge role in that. And, the Zamboni is sort of like Kleenex, right? Like, or Q-tip. It's like the brand name became the default name, right? Because technically the machine's called an ice resurfacer, but people call it Zamboni. It's like, you call it Kleenex, any tissue, yeah.
Zamboni sounds a lot cooler though.
Yeah, definitely.
Look, Gill, this is the street we take. You remember what I tell you? Go through the back.
Oh, yeah.
Over there.
I see it. That's awesome. Cool. That'd be cool if we passed by that city and that guy's just still driving that.
Is he still alive?
No, he passed away.
Oh.
But
that's him. That's the Frank guy. Frank Zamboni.
I don't think so.
No, it's probably one of his descendants.
Right? I think right now it's in the 3rd or 4th generation in the family already. But because they still build them in Paramount, sometimes you will see like half-finished Zamboni driving from the Zamboni factory to Iceland, because they kind of go and like test the Zamboni there.
Where's the factory at? See, I don't even know where the factory is.
It's right down the street from Paramount Iceland. It's like. Is
it in the backside?
Yeah, it's on the backside.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Damn, dude.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I call it my city, huh?
This is what you get when you listen to the podcast, dude. You get history of Frank Zamboni and everything.
Well, that's this thing. Going back to what Amber said about like why don't they teach this in schools? In school, they're just prepping you for standardized testing. It's like what's going to be on the standardized test.
Yeah, I don't think Frank Zamboni is going to be on the standardized test.
But for me, I had cool history teachers when growing up, so I would hang out with them, during lunch or before class or whatever, and just talk about other stuff, and then they kind of it sparked my interest into going off and learning stuff on my own. And then, I majored in history in college. So, that was my, kind of, once you get there, then you get to study the other stuff that you really want to study,
Dude, so we were talking a few weeks ago, right? You stopped by the cafe and you said something that was very interesting that I haven't looked up, but there's a difference between an archivist and a historian.
Yeah. So I have a historian. Most of the time people say, "Well, what is a historian?" Um, it's sort of one of those things like a lawyer and an attorney. Like I think it's like everybody. If you pass law school, everybody is a lawyer. I think, but until you pass the bar, you're an attorney. I forget which way it goes. And sort of like with history, they're like, oh, well, you have a bachelor's degree in history. Are you a historian? Some people are like, oh no, well, you need to like write a book, or you need to teach, or you need to, I don't really buy into, I don't even buy into the thing that you need to have like a degree in it. You know what I mean? Like because there's a couple of people that I know that do kind of the stuff I do, that research and make little, videos or blogs, and they're like, oh, I don't really consider myself a historian. I'm like, dude, you're putting in the work, you're doing the research, you're writing it down. That's a historian, for me, but I guess the traditional definition of it is somebody that, researches history, writes books or articles or teaches it, is like a historian. And then like an archivist is sort of like a librarian in a sense. Like an archivist is somebody that works in an archive, that is in charge of like the collection for that particular archive, arranging it, cataloging it, putting it, depending on the archive, putting it on display or in preservation, being able to make it accessible to people. So that's basically like what a librarian does too. But like archives, for the most part, librarians traditionally dealt with books, but libraries now deal with all kinds of things, books, DVDs, digital stuff, but it's basically, it's related to librarianship. The difference is that like people that are librarians, they get an actual degree in library studies, and it's like a professional degree.
Whoa, is it really?
Yeah. Like that's the thing. People try to like say that like, oh, what does a librarian do? Whatever. Dude, like every single librarian has a master's degree in library studies, and it's a professional degree.
Whoa.
So it's like having an MBA or whatever. It's an MLIS, Master's in Library and Information Science.
Whoa.
Yeah, I have a cousin that's a librarian. She has a.
Do you really?
I do. I
learn new things about you every episode.
I do. I just give you little bits and pieces.
Who are you?
I gotta keep you entertained still.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like she's keeping you entertained. Like give you little nuggets.
Little nuggets here and there. Okay, all right. You're invited back on tomorrow for the next episode. So Javier, are you able to talk about your 9 to 5?
Yeah, so I am an archivist. I work at a movie studio. So I work in a digital archive, so not in the traditional sense. Like, it's funny because I have a master's degree in moving image archive studies. So it's basically like film archiving. So I went to UCLA. That program doesn't exist anymore. It was basically a combination of like a film studies master's degree. Well, actually, it was a combination between the film school, the library school, and the archive, and it was all like a mixed program. So we took classes in library science. We took classes in film studies, and then we did classes specifically in like film archiving. But when we were going through school, it was all like physical stuff. It was all like film. We learned how to like. I remember I did an internship at USC at the library there where I was splicing film together. So I was learning how to splice film, like rehouse film. I did an internship at the UCLA Special Collections where I was doing taking pictures and helping to digitize some of like the stuff from like physical format to like digital. Now in my day-to-day, it's all digital. It's all like files. So the team that I'm in charge of, we validate and ingest like over 50,000 files a year, and it's growing every single year. We're basically, I always tell people it's like working in the kitchen for us. Like we're like the kitchen managers. So it's like the files come to us. The files need to be in a certain format. They need to have, like if I get a file and it says that it's, Spanish audio, it's stereo. Like I open that file, I make sure that all the information that goes along with that file matches, and actually play the file, listen to it. I don't speak all these languages, but after working there for so long, I can tell the difference between Castilian Spanish and Latin American Spanish. I can tell the difference between, European Portuguese and like Brazilian Portuguese. The Nordic languages, like I'm obsessed with like Finland, so I can tell Finnish from Norwegian, from Swedish, from Danish. So we basically open all these files, we check them, and then once they're good to go, we put them into our database. And then that way, anybody that goes in the database looking for something, when they pull that file, they're sure that it is what it says it is. So it's like working in the kitchen, right? If I get a box and it says yellow onions, I open it. I'm like, yep, it's yellow onions. I put it in the pantry. That way, when the chef goes to grab it, he grabs the box of yellow onions. It's not purple onions, red onions, or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's basically just all file-based checking of all these files and putting them into the system. And then I'm also involved in like a lot of meetings where we develop like policy, as far as like how to catalog things in a certain way. So it's funny because when I was in grad school, I fucking hated cataloging. And it's actually my favorite part of my job now to be able to like put things into like the boxes that it needs to go. Right. What I mean? Yeah. But it was funny because I hated cataloging and it ended up becoming like my favorite thing to do at work. Yeah.
Isn't that funny how that always happens?
And the thing is too, is like I'm an archivist and whatever, but like my own personal stuff, I'm like the worst person at like organizing things properly. Like my own personal stuff, it's all over the place, man. It's a good, it's like it's sort of like being a chef, right? Like if you work all day in the kitchen, you're working in a Michelin starred whatever, those dudes come home and like eat a bowl of cereal or make a grilled cheese. You know what I mean? Like the last thing they want to do is like, cook some fancy stuff at home. So I think that's probably what it is.
Dude, when you told me you're an archivist, my first thought was like you in like a large warehouse moving around boxes.
Like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I think that's what it was. But dude, that's freaking cool that like you get to like, is there anything like any significant like type of film that you've come across before?
Or what does the studio do with what you guys are archiving?
So we have different groups of archivists where I work. Like we have in the digital archive, and we also have physical archivists. So we have and on the physical realm, we still like get physical assets. People just think everything's digital. Or that's why I always laugh at people like, well, librarians are useless. Everything's digitized. I'm like, well, who's going to digitize all of that? Who's putting it online? Whatever. So we still get stuff digitally, things like, physically. So like costumes, there's a costume archivist, there's a junior archivist.
That's cool.
That's
awesome, man.
Yeah, no, they have the coolest jobs. There's also like I said, we still get like boxes of things like, whatever, if it's like scripts or folders of things. Now it's mostly on like drives, but still somebody has to put those drives, on the shelf. We have one team that deals in preservation, so they do all like the restoration work and that kind of stuff. Like they work hand in hand with the people that are doing like color correction or audio or releasing things in a higher resolution. There's a preservation team. We have a team that deals with the stuff coming off the what they call deliverables, so things that are coming off of from production. So it's like like the when a movie wraps up or a show wraps up, all the stuff that they're sending that's like before it's like released, all that stuff is being captured and archived. And the stuff that I do is things that are being used to service clients. So if you watch stuff on TV or streaming, like all those services, they get their files from us. And because everybody has their own requirements, so someone like I don't know, just throwing it out there. Someone like Netflix might say, hey, we want, whenever you send us something, we want it in this format with these many languages and this and that. And then some channel in like Mexico might say, hey, well, when you send it to us, we want it obviously in Spanish, but we want it with the subtitles or whatever, or things like the funny things like in Scandinavia, they usually don't dub like stuff in Scandinavia. They like to have the stuff in English with Scandinavian subtitles because they want people to learn English by watching the movie, but then they can see the translation. The only time they ever dub something is when it's for kids. So if there's like a SpongeBob movie or Toy Story or whatever, that stuff's gonna get dubbed in that language because it's for kids. But if it's like for adults, they're not gonna dub it. It's gonna stay in English, and then you're gonna have the subtitles underneath it.
Gotcha. So when movies, like if you're the other day, perfect example, we were watching a movie in Spanish and it wasn't dubbed in English. So like that type of thing, like that you add subtitles to it, or how does that work?
So what I do is like the little bits and pieces. So it's like literally that subtitle file or the
okay.
So it's
and
like,
you just attach it to there.
So basically, we get all these files that come in.
Yeah.
And we check all the files to make sure that it's in the correct format, it's the correct language, and then we put those bits and pieces into the system, and then the people that are in charge of like packaging that stuff together, they grab all those things and put it together and send that. That's what I mean. Like like we was talking about watching a movie, in Spanish that wasn't dubbed. That client might have said, "Hey, we want, when you send us the file, we want it to be in." We want it to be not dubbed, but with the subtitle. But then we want people to have the option, if they want to listen to it, that they can change it to dubbing or whatever. So all those little bits and pieces come into us, and we check the bits and pieces. I mean, sometimes we get like the full file with everything burned in, whatever. Yeah. But that's usually like way down the road, and that's for something else. But initially, it's all little just bits and pieces. So it's like we get the picture. And in the original language, so most of the time it's English, but sometimes if it's a foreign movie or whatever, we'll get it in the original language, with or without all the text. We'll get the text separate. Yeah. We'll get, all just, like I said, it's like, that's why I say it's like working in a restaurant. It's like all the little ingredients come in and we put them in the pantry, and someone else is making the pizza.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So who determines, I don't know if you would be able to answer this question, but now I'm like, my brain's like turning, because you're saying, all these languages and everything, and then places or Netflix will be like, okay, I want it in this many languages. But who determines like what movie or show, like how many languages it's dubbed in?
It basically just comes down to where that's going out. So like, for example, like here in North America, the most common languages are Spanish, English, and French, because Canada has a huge French speaking population. So that's pretty much what determines how many languages they put on there. Obviously, if they're sending it somewhere like a client in, like Asia, like in China, there's different types of like Mandarin that are spoke. There's like, Chinese, there's like Chinese Mandarin traditional, there's like Chinese Mandarin Taiwanese, there's Cantonese. So there's different. So if it's going to like China, there's like 3 or 4 different, types of like languages that are being shipped out there. If it's going somewhere, like into the Middle East, it might be, Arabic, and something else like English or French, because there's a lot of people that speak French in some of those countries. So it really depends on where it's being sent. I mean, it doesn't really make sense, for them to include like Bulgarian here in the U.S. if, right. there's not that much Bulgarian speaking population here. So that's basically what it comes down to is where it's going to.
I want to put a complaint to the dubbers.
Why, is it because the same actors and actresses are always the same ones doing it?
No, because I feel like when
what was the Spanish word that was, you're like, it doesn't mean that?
Yeah, I was reading, because I understand it in Spanish, but he didn't. So
I'm learning.
Reading the subtitles, and I'm reading them with him because it's just, they're there. And there was a lot of words that were like inconsistent. But no, that's not what my complaint is.
But it was the different, was it the different type of Spanish? Like, was it?
No, it just didn't. The translation of the word in Spanish to English was like completely different. I can't remember what the word was.
It was like sister or bag, or it was something. It was just like
it didn't make sense.
An inanimate object or something.
No, my complaint to the dubbers are: have you ever, like, were you Javier, that you've seen like Spanish or movies in Spanish, where all movies that are in English and then dubbed in Spanish, that Spanish dub is always like very exaggerated. Like, no one can just
ay diablos, ¿por qué
exactly like that. I'm just like, yeah, that's not how everybody speaks. Like, so that's my complaint.
Well, I mean, I don't know why they take those artistic, liberties with stuff. I mean, those people are actors. That's what
they're voice actors.
So they're voice actors. So they're doing But I thought you were gonna say that it's always like the same people, because I feel like it's always the same.
It could be.
It's always the same guy and girl that do like the voices for all the the actors. But it's mostly artistic thing, because they are actors. So they're doing their thing. But I totally agree. Sometimes it's over the top.
I wonder if I can find something. I wanna go to
¿Dónde estamos?
Let me see.
Choose that one. Up. I get an idea. I have an idea
Today
of
we're
what you're
going to
trying to
learn
say.
Spanish with the fantastic movie.
Ándale.
We will do so by breaking down.
No, I think you're just learning it.
Muchachos is basically
Just put search over exaggerated Spanish dub.
Okay.
My favorite Spanish dub is The Simpsons. I don't know if you've ever seen The Simpsons in Spanish.
Like
but
Homero.
Ay, Homero.
Let me see.
Oh, Marjorie. Ay, me pegaste en la cabeza.
Oh, look at the first one. Simpsons Spanish.
I think they actually do it good though. Like that's a good dub.
Ay, Isa, pero si no está tan mal. Uy, mira, Lisa, si te ayuda, destruyo algo que Bart quiera mucho.
Oye.
Tranquilo, muchacho. Si te pones triste, destruiré algo que Maggie quiera mucho.
No entiendes, papá. Este saxofón es como mi mejor amigo. Lo tengo desde que tengo memoria.
¿No recuerdas cómo llegó?
So this is like a cartoon.
Ah, bueno, pues todo sucedió en mil...
This is a cartoon, so you're like, okay,
that one's
they're
good.
little voices.
Yeah.
Okay. But they put these little voices in like actual like physical people dub. So
Can you look up The Color Purple dubbed in Spanish?
Oh my god.
Can we look up that, please?
Let's see.
The most like depressing movie but dubbed in Spanish. That or What's Eating Gilbert Grape is my next thought.
Oh God.
I think I just have to put it
In Spanish. Is it?
It's probably not gonna be on there.
No, huh?
No.
It has to be.
No, but I'll show you later. But,
All right.
but
Yeah, no,
you got the gist.
Yeah, it's definitely overacted and sometimes over enunciated. But even the stuff like with subtitles, it sometimes they're limited to like the amount of characters like like letters that they can use. So sometimes that's why you'll see like a weird like word choice because it, like the speed that people read at, there's a limit to how many lines can be on at the screen at the
okay.
That makes sense.
how many characters. Yeah, so that's why sometimes it's also like like slang doesn't translate sometimes. Like obviously like my favorite interview with celebrities like Diego Luna. He was talking to Conan about pedo. It's like the word pedo can mean like Gill, que pedo, like, what's your problem? What's your problem? Like, que pedo onda, like, hey, what's up? It's like that kind of thing. So it's like, if they translate it, like literally, it's like, hey, what's your fart? What's the fart?
What's
so,
your fart?
But,
that's his pedo.
Yeah, or that's his pedo, So I think sometimes that's the other thing too, is that because the slang doesn't translate, they have to, change it to, a different word. But yeah, they're working with a lot of like constraints because, there is a limit to how many lines of text can be on the screen. There's a limit, even within those lines, how many characters can be in it.
9 ways to use the word pedo?
There's probably more.
Oh yeah, sí, like, me puse bien pedo, elige al güey que era su pedo.
Pedo can be drunk. It could be a fart. It could be.
Oh, it could be drunk. That's right. That fool was pedo last night.
Yeah, or like what's up, or like pedo. ¿Qué es tu pedo? Like what's
pedo?
your problem?
Yeah.
Problem. Ni
Yeah.
pedo. Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that.
See right here.
De pedo, by chance, by luck.
Al pedo, useless. Estar en pedo, drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Tener un pedo terrible, to be really drunk.
To reapproach someone or tell them off. Cagada pedos.
Cagar a pedos.
What?
Tirar un pedo.
That's a fart. Extremely fast or in a hurry. A los pedos.
See, and that's what I don't understand. Like, I feel like yes, English is a great language. I know English, but I also feel like sometimes, like when I talk to Gill about something and I want to translate it, and it just doesn't translate the same from Spanish to English. And even like in Spanish, we have te amo, right? Which is I love you. And then there's te quiero. And I've always thought of the word te quiero. How would you translate that to English?
I mean,
What would it be?
For me, like, te quiero is like, you can't say it's I love you, but for me, in context, it's more like I like you. Because you don't tell somebody, like, te amo is like, like more like serious, te quiero, it's like, I like you, like, because it's sort of like, quiero una hamburguesa. You don't say amo una hamburguesa. It's like I'd like a hamburger.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Damn, dude. Is English your first language or Spanish? Spanish is your first language?
Yeah, no, I was born in Mexico.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Uruapan, Michoacan.
Really?
Yeah, but my parents...
make carnitas?
I love how that's your first question.
It's funny. I don't, and I should, because my mom. So my dad, my family, my dad.
Sorry.
No. No, my
deprive me on the show.
My mom is from...
I don't know who you are. That's why. Who are you today?
I don't want to make carnitas. No, I'm just kidding.
No, my mom is from Quiroga, which is like the capital of carnitas. Like that's what it's famous for.
Really? Okay.
And my dad is from Uruapan, which is like known for aguacates.
That was gonna be my second one.
Yeah, I do make a fucking good ass guacamole.
It's like built into your genes.
Yeah. And I know how to pick them out.
Shit.
Yeah, you have to be able to do that. But
it's because each state has its thing that it's known for. Like for me, Michoacan, I think avocados and
carnitas. That's crazy.
All right, now you guys, Sinaloa, what do you think? No, I'm just kidding. Don't say what you
mariscos.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I think about when I think
that
about
one.
mariscos. Isn't that a baseball team, los tomateros?
Yeah.
Tomatoes. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Is like every state in Mexico has it's known for its own thing, and and everybody has their own like dish. That's what like everybody thinks that all Mexican food's the same, and it's like it's not, dude. Like,
totally different.
You go to like, and even within the same town, even same family, man.
Really?
Like my mom makes enchiladas different than my aunt because my dad liked them a certain way. And growing up, my mom only made enchiladas one way, and then I spent a weekend at my aunt's house in Texas. And she's like, oh, because my mom would only make enchiladas with cheese and onion in them.
Oh, that's us.
And my tia was like, you want frijoles or potatoes? And I was like, you can get them with beans and potatoes. She was like, yeah. She's like, how does your mom make them? My mom doesn't make them like that. Like I went, and they were like, the best.
Where am I?
No, dude, it was like the best. It was like
who are you?
It's like the best thing I ate. And I went home and I told mom, hey, what the fuck? Like what's
you're skipping me out of more feeling.
Yeah, because I'm like, dude, like you learn from my grandma. Like, what's up? My mom was like, oh, it's because your dad, like he liked them with onion and cheese. That's how his mom made them. And I'm like, well, fuck that. We should have had an option. We should have. Hey, do you guys want it like your dad, or do you guys want it like like my mom makes them? But
to me, it's weird to eat an enchilada with chicken inside. Because I grew up eating them like that, like your dad. Just cheese and onion. Yeah. And then do you guys roll them or you put them flat?
No, my mom rolls them. Yeah.
Hard-hitting questions here on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, because she'll grab them, she'll dip them in the chile, she'll throw them in the frying pan, and she'll take them out. She'll put the cheese and onion mixture, and she's basically like two rolls,
just fold them over,
two folds. And then she'll put cheese and lechuga on top, and then on the side she'll serve them with like potatoes and carrots that have been like cooked in the same salsa from the enchilada. And then when we went to Michoacan, that's why they call them enchiladas placeras. And then they serve it to you with like chicken on the side. It's not inside, so it's like the enchilada and then the potatoes and carrots on the side, and then the chicken on the side.
Damn.
The first time you ate them flat was with me, huh?
No, I had
it before?
Yeah, I've had some family members that do them flat like that. But I was always used to eating enchiladas like a casserole.
Okay.
Yeah, you remember
Yeah,
when I was explaining it to her, and she was like, "Oh, you stack them?" I'm like, "Yeah, we stack them, And then when I went over to Amber's family's house to eat enchiladas, I was like, "Wait, hold on, this isn't stacked." No, we made ours like a lasagna.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like a casserole, but I don't. Was that strange to you? That
no, I mean yes and no, because I know a lot of things for you are in casserole form. You always tell me, oh, that'd be good in a casserole. My aunt used to make casserole. And my mom never made casserole anything. So I was like, casserole? What the fuck is a casserole?
Yeah, but now I know, like now I notice things that certain people in the world make it, everything's a casserole. Everything's a casserole to them. And yeah, it's thank you for showing me a different part of the world.
Like my mom, we used to go to Hometown Buffet, and we loved like meat, because I never grew up eating meatloaf and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Started eating meatloaf, like, oh shit, like this is good. It's like stuff you watch on TV. Like, oh, yeah. And then my mom would be like, yo puedo hacer eso. And then she like make meatloaf, but it tasted like picadillo.
That's what my mom
yeah.
did. My mom would put like cilantro, cebolla in there.
But it was good though. I'm like, that's straight up, like the mixing of cultures.
Like assimilating, but still putting your
exactly. Yeah, I was talking about assimilating. Like actually, a few years ago, I wrote a article for Eliast where I talked about my mom's capirotada, because my mom's capirotada is
Capirotada, what is that?
Capirotada is a bread pudding. They usually make it during Lent.
Okay.
And like my mom's capirotada is unlike anybody's capirotada, because traditionally it's made with, a lot of people make it with bolillo. And basically the whole thing is like you let the bolillo kind of air out and go a little bit stale, so you can kind of like, so it can hold like the syrup that you put it in.
And
it's a casserole. There you go.
Yeah, it's
okay.
It's a casserole.
It could be
so it's basically monkey bread for all my pigment challenge friends out there, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It could be like
same concept,
like brother.
Okay, this
but
step-headed cousin.
But apparently we're in Quiroga. There's a specific type of bread that they use for it. So it's not like bolillo, because like my wife's family, my wife's mom makes it with bolillo. But there's a specific type of bread that they call it pan de capirotada, where my mom's from. And when they immigrated here, she couldn't find anything that would like resemble that. And my dad would try to go and get bolillo, and he's like, oh, try this or try that, and none of it worked. It always fall apart. And then one day my mom, she had found those like Pillsbury biscuits, and one day she got one and it was kind of stale, and she was like, man, like this is stale, like I'll dunk it in some coffee. And then she had a moment like, oh shit, maybe I can make capirotada with this. And the next day she made it, and that's how I grew up eating capirotada. My mom makes capirotada with like the biscuits, like
that sounds really good.
The Springfield biscuits, like I said, I wrote an article for Elias for on that, and it's just basically a song like my mom being like, she's more American than she realizes, because that's the thing with history is with like immigrants come here, they adapt their cuisine to what's available here, and then you have stuff that's created here because of that. It's like, I can't find that ingredient. Well, I'm going to make it this way, and then it ends up, kind of becoming part of, the fabric of, the country or whatever.
Isn't that what happened to the waffle cone? Didn't that happen at the, maybe it's just a myth, but isn't that how the waffle cone was created at the World's Fair?
I remember the waffle cone being invented at the fair. I don't remember why, but yeah.
So maybe if we can look this up, but I think because if my memory is getting me correctly, there was an ice cream vendor was it an ice cream vendor? Yeah, it was an ice cream vendor that ran out of like bowls, and next to him was a waffle.
There it is. Yeah, he ran out of dishes.
Yeah, there we go. Because of ice cream's popularity, the vendor ran out of dishes. Hamwai, hope I'm saying that right, saw an easy solution to the ice cream vendor's problem. He quickly rolled one of his wafer-like waffles into a shape of a cone or a cornucopia and gave it to the ice cream vendor. Yeah, all right. Cool. And this happened at the World Fair?
Let's see.
Yeah, right there.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
1904 St. Louis World's Fair. Oh, all right. There we go.
There you go. Now you guys all know.
The history of the ice cream cone. Is this stuff like this that, like, I don't know, like it randomly gets stuck in my brain, dude?
No, and that's how I am too, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you, like I'd be like drive anywhere, I'm like, oh yeah, like this building was, this, or talking about like food. Oh yeah, the first McDonald's was here, or the first Schnitzel was here, or hey, did you know that like the cheeseburger was invented in Pasadena?
Was it really?
Supposedly? Yeah. So like the story goes, there was this kid. I think his name was like Steinberger, I think. Mm-hmm. And so the way the story goes is that he was making a burger, at this place called the Right Spot in Pasadena, and he burned the burger. And to hide that he had burned it, he put a slice of cheese on top of it. And that's how the cheeseburger was invented. There's other places that claim, Lionel Sternberger.
Ah, there we go.
1924. But yeah, there's other places that try to claim it. But the Pasadena Museum of History actually has a menu from the restaurant from like the late 1920s.
Oh, cool.
That has it listed. And they used to call it the aristocratic burger because it was fancy. You know, because you had a slice of cheese on it.
So this is the cheeseburger, not the hamburger.
Not the hamburger. No, the hamburger, I think the people that said they invented it was in like Connecticut, I think. And
so it wasn't in Hamburg, Germany?
I don't think so.
No?
I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
It wasn't? Are you sure?
I don't even think like a French fry it's all
Was it
American.
French? Was it French at least?
No.
French toast at least has to be created in France, Amber. No?
No, I don't think so.
What about pizza? Pizza's not American, right?
No, pizza's Italian.
Yeah.
That's cool. See, and the thing is like you just drive every day in your merry way, and it's like there's history everywhere. And it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I'm trying to get is to people is like like there's history all around you, and there's plaques and there's things everywhere that tell the history of something and just explore it. There's stuff in your own backyard that you don't even know that is there. And you can dig into it, and you're like, man, like that's crazy. I didn't know that like my town was famous for this, or that we did this here, or this was invented here.
Yeah.
How do you even start to get like a lead? Like how do you? Because unless I'm walking somewhere or I see it somewhere, then I'm like, oh, okay. But how do you even start to find a place or want to investigate on it? So
for me, there's a lot of things that interest me. So one is like that programmatic architecture. So like the tail of the pup is one of them. It's like basically like buildings that look like what they're trying to sell. So that's why I found the tamale building. I was like, I'm gonna do research on this. Or like I'm obsessed with Vandicamps too. I used to eat the donuts as a kid and the cake, so started digging into that. But sometimes it's just random, just driving past. Sometimes I'll be driving somewhere with Ellie, and then there's a plaque there. I'm like, no, stop the car. She's like,
what did you see now?
Like, what did you see? And I jump out and I run over there, take a picture of it. I'm gonna look it up later. But there's actually a website called like the historical marker database that I use a lot.
Whoa.
And it basically lists like historical markers of any kind. So it doesn't have to necessarily be like a California historical landmark. It might be like a city landmark, or it might be there's a group called like Eclamptus Vitus or something like that. That's like a California Historical Society, like it's like an informal group, and they put like plaques up different places. Usually they put stuff up in like sort of non-traditional, like things that wouldn't be considered like historic.
Right.
They like traditionally they put up plaques in those kind of places. So that's how I start kind of digging around, and then once I find sort of like pulling on a thread. Once I find a thread, I start to I usually just first a Google search, and then I try to rely on like legitimate sources like newspaper articles, or there's a book, or if somebody has a documentary about it, things like that. So that's how I start doing the research. And if it's something where I know that there's like an institution that has stuff, I'll usually reach out to them. Be like I did with Paramount. When I was like, I'm gonna do a story about the hay tree. So I looked for pictures. I found pictures on the city's website, and so then I reached out to them and said, "Hey, I want to do this video on this hay tree. Can I use the pictures?" And then they're like, "Yeah, you can use the pictures. And here's this document that we put together that we sent to the state when we want to make it a historical landmark." So they gave me like a really huge like resource that I could use. That somebody had already done all the work and looked up all the sort of like primary sources, and then I used that and a couple other things that I did on my own. And I always kind of combine research, the like summarize it in my own words, and you kind of put it together and make the video. But it's a lot of kind of looking around. But like I said, because I have that like history background and I have that like archive library background, I kind of know where to look, and how to like go about like searching. Because a regular Google search is cool, but then once you want to look at something, you try to go to like there's a website called Calisphere that it's like an aggregate of all like historical societies and museums in California, and they put their collections on there. So I'll find a lot of cool like resources there and like pictures.
What is it called?
Calisphere. So it's like CALIS.
Just Googling stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
CALISPHERE. There it is, first one.
Calisphere.
Oh, right here.
So like, let's say you go there, click on that, and then just like whatever, think of something and just put it in there. Put like I don't know, like a cheeseburger.
Burger.
Good thing you thought of it, because I was gonna put something.
And so
something inappropriate.
So it's like, okay, so the only thing it found was Andy's driving, right? But let's say you want to look up like look up
Beach Boys.
Yeah, look up the Beach Boys. Let's see what comes up.
That picture that they took of, I think it was Surfing Safari. Remember that beach you took me to?
Yeah, we didn't even know it was that one.
Yeah.
So see, like here, that's what I tell you about how you research, because you put Beach Boys, it's giving you both beach and anything.
Okay.
But if you want to, if you were to put like
Beach Boy?
like parentheses around, like you put like quotation marks around Beach Boys, it'll give you just things that are, if it has anything to do with the actual like Beach Boys, the musicians, if they have anything in there, that it'll pull it up.
Let's see.
Oh, I guess not.
No.
Put like just so you get a lot of
or
like
the Beach Boys.
Or try doing this. Just put Paramount so you can see what comes out when you look up Paramount. All right, so as you see that you have the drive-in.
Oh, the drive-in.
Yeah, you should probably see stuff about the like.
Is that where they have the swap meet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gil still, every time we pass by it,
it's open.
Day, he's like,
why is it open 24/7? That's crazy. It's crazy to me.
If you scroll down, it'll tell you where they got that. So you see it says, where is it?
Over here, made
contributor, accessible. Yeah, but it'll tell you who holds it. The Los Angeles Public Library. So then from there, I would click on that, and you can go to the LA Public Library's things called TESA. And that's where they have their collection. So then I'll reach out to like the LA Public Library and say, hey, I want to be able to use this picture. Can I use it? And usually like they'll let you use stuff if you're not making any money off of it.
Right.
But sometimes you'll click on something and it'll tell you, oh, like the Pasadena Library holds it, and you reach out to them. So that's a good source to be able to find pictures is Calisphere for me, or other sources. 'Cause sometimes it'll link to like articles or things like that.
Man, you should have never showed me this.
Weird question, dude. Have you ever ran into something that was inconsistent?
Like during research?
Yeah. Like
my research or other people's research?
But both.
Yeah, other people's research, you find that all the time. Funny thing is, like when I was in college, one of my projects when I was an intern, I was compiling a history of the Merced Fire Department, which is where I went to school, UC Merced. And I actually ended up finding a document that the fire department uses a certain date to say they were established on this date. And then I actually found an article that said they were established on a different date.
What?
Yeah, it was something weird where like, and I can't remember because it's been so long, but basically it was like, it was founded like, the day that they say that they were founded was like the day that they had the meeting to decide that they were going to make a fire department. And then the next day was the day that they voted to like establish it, or it was something to that effect. So it was just like a day difference.
So it was a day difference. I thought it was like a year, 2 years difference. So I was like, whoa.
No, but still, it's one of those things. Funny enough though, during the research for the Paramount Hate Tree, I did come across something looking, I think it might have been in Calisphere. But some of the pictures I found in that video that have like the people dressed like in Dutch costumes. One of the pictures says, has the names of the people, and it says, so and so dressed in Dutch costumes in Clearwater Haynes, which is what Paramount used to be. And then I saw another picture, and it says, oh, so and so and so and so at the Bellflower Dairy Festival. And I was like, Bellflower Dairy Festival. And then there was another picture that said the same thing, and then I had to be like, wait, it's the exact same person. They have the exact same name, they're wearing the exact same costumes. One picture says it's from the Clearwater Hines one. This one says Bellflower, and then you go doing the research. Like Bellflower never had a dairy fiesta. It was always Clearwater and Hines. So that was a thing that was inconsistent. I think it was in UCLA in the special collections. Is that like someone misidentified that as being from a different place? They have the right names of the people, but they have the location wrong. And it's just one of those things where you're like, because the city, like the people that I work with at the Historical Society in Paramount, they had never seen those pictures before. And they were like, "Where'd you get these pictures?" I was like, "Oh, they're there at the at UCLA."
Like I went back in time.
Yeah. But yeah, you come across it all the time. Or like, did we talk talking about McDonald's? The first McDonald's was San Bernardino. There is, I think it's the Monrovia Historical Society. They have pictures that say these are the pictures of like this was the first McDonald's. And it's like picture of the Airdrome, which is like the restaurant that was one of the first restaurants that the McDonald's brothers founded. But that's wrong because it wasn't the first McDonald's. It was the first restaurant that they like ran, but it wasn't called McDonald's. It wasn't whatever. But I don't know if somebody wrote that on the back of the photograph and it's just in the notes that way or whatever. But you come across all the time because like archivists are trying to do their best with the information that they have on there. So it's possible that somebody wrote that on the back of the picture, and when they were digitizing it, they just whatever was written on there, they typed it in there, and that's how it went. Same thing with the picture that I told you I found of the cows. The dairy festival. It's possible it was written on the back of the thing and said, "Oh, it's in Bellflower," and they just put that in there. But it's not correct.
Are they? I'm sorry.
Hold on.
I just choked on my own saliva.
Can you pull that up? That is a freaky picture.
They're like
Hail
Hitler?
Hail John Greenleaf.
If you scroll down, it should,
John Greenleaf.
Yeah, it's from the 1920s. So yeah, like it's in the Whittier, like they're saluting the American flag.
Oh.
But yeah, it's from the 20s. But yeah, like because that was like a common way to because even if you ever see, like I think in Mexico they do that too, like they raise their right arm, and even sometimes in other places they raise their right arm in a way to like salute whatever. So I mean obviously this picture's from the 20s. It predates that,
dude. Even the even the swastika symbol, I think it's somewhere. I think it's there's some relic or some like monument that has that symbol on it, right?
I think it might be like.
Didn't the Japanese money have it?
A Hindu or it's definitely like a sacred symbol in
it's like
but they just took it and made it something perverse.
I think it's like it's like a symbol of peace or something like that, right?
Yeah, I forget what the significance of it is, but yeah, it was something else, and then it got turned into something.
What are
else.
These with audio?
Those are actual like audio clips or something. So yeah.
That's awesome. And you can play all this stuff?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
I'll see you next week, Gilbert.
See you later.
I'll be sitting here for the next week.
Oh, man.
Is it going to play it?
It's loading. There we go.
It's probably going to be an oral history. Try scrubbing forward a little bit.
Oh, right there.
Here's the car. And
yes.
Here's the way he's traveled. These are they're unpaved roads.
What does that say on the back?
Well,
Paradise Chico Stage.
that's what this said here.
And who is that? Mabel Eccles?
Mabel Eccles discusses early public transportation in Whittier, and this was recorded in May 2nd, 1977.
Oh, 1977.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like I'm telling you that Calisphere is like a hole where you can just go in and just start looking stuff up. And,
man, this is like a rabbit hole.
Yeah, definitely.
Dude, what do you think about historical like conspiracy theories?
I mean, some of them ended up being true.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's one of those things where like I said, some of them ended up becoming true. Some of those are really interesting to
have you ever
go down.
Have you ever went down a rabbit hole in any of those?
I mean, probably the big one is, the JFK,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like some of them with like most theories, you end up like pulling one string and then the whole thing unravels and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, there's so much stuff out there, that is just I try not to go down that rabbit hole.
What about what about Amelia Earhart?
Yeah, that one is one of those things where like I wish they would could find finally put an end to the whole speculation. But I mean, some of the theories that that I've read, because when I was a kid I used to love reading about the Bermuda Triangle and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, one of those things was like she was abducted or she ended up somewhere else or whatever. I think the most recent thing I heard was that that the giant crabs, the
what?
That's supposedly on near the island where supposedly they think she might have like crash landed.
Yeah,
there's these like giant crabs that like can tear like people apart.
What?
Kind of thing. So they were like, most likely they're like, and they're scavengers. That's what crabs feed on. They feed on like stuff on the bottom of the ocean floor, whatever. But these crabs come on land and they're fucking huge. And so that's one of the theories is that her and her navigator she was with crash landed on this island. They're probably like really hurt. They ended up dying, and the reason we haven't found anything is because these crabs literally tore them apart and just kind of ate them, and there's no remnants of them. So
yeah,
that I think that was the latest one, because they had said that they had possibly found like a picture of her or something, but that ended up being debunked. And
that she was living in New Jersey and she changed her name because she wanted to be out of the fame spotlight. She was a prisoner of war. The Japanese found her.
Yeah, I've heard those.
Yeah.
That's the thing is once something, sort of people disappear, or there's like a murder that happened in some sort of way, everybody kind of wants to come up with it. Like, like the Black Dahlia murder, it's like somebody, wants to come up with a theory about why that happened or, whatever. And, sometimes they have like, evidence, but that's what's about like being a historian is, everyone thinks history is just learning about like dates and facts. But when I was in school, it was like, they teach you like, everything you thought about history that you knew, like forget it because you don't know shit.
Yeah.
And there was a book, I think it was called like history for historians, I think it was called. And basically it was saying like someone says, oh, like I know American history. And you go, do you? Like, yeah, like where did you learn it from? Like, oh, I got it from this book. And like, oh, well, that book's interpretation of American history. You don't know all of American history because you haven't, whatever. Because depending on who wrote that book, that person has biases, so they put their bias in there whether they want to or not. The things that they choose to put in there versus the things that they leave out was like a conscious decision on their part, and I know I do that all the time. I know I do that all the time too, because sometimes I feel like it's like in 2 minutes I can't tell everything that I need to tell about this one place, so I'll leave stuff out. Not that because it's not important, not because it's whatever, but like sometimes it's specifically because I'm talking only about this period of time, so I feel like if I include stuff before that, it adds some context to what I'm talking about, but it's not, for that period of time that I'm talking about, you know what I mean? So anybody that writes books about history or whatever, they have their own biases. They're putting their own biases into it. They're omitting things. They're making, an argument, and then they're bringing up evidence to back it up. And, and so the thing is, like anybody can say whatever they want. You can have all this kind of evidence, but then if you go looking into that evidence, it might fall apart, because it's like, oh, well, where did you get this? Oh, well, this person said it. Okay. Well, who is that person? It's like, it's this person says they heard it from this person. They heard it from that person. It's like, okay, well, that kind of falls apart, cause then it's, you're playing telephone,
Yeah.
But if you have an actual, like we just heard right now, like an actual recording from somebody that was there, it's a little more believable, because they lived it. But then it's also like, well, how long ago did they live it? Because if you're talking to somebody about their experience yesterday, today, then their memory's better. But if you're talking about what happened 20 years ago, and they might get some stuff right, they might get some stuff wrong, If you were to find like a journal or newspaper article that was written at the time, that's much more reliable because it's contemporary, So it's all of that kind of stuff that has to do with, with the study of history and putting things together. You kind of look at it and kind of be like, like talking about, conspiracies. Well, where did they get this from? It's like, oh, well, they found this dude that, said he heard it from this dude, they heard it from that dude. You're like, well, can you really put too much, stock in that? But if someone has like, oh no, I have video footage and I shot it on that day and here it is. It's okay. Well, then that has more credence because that was from the time, and it's a firsthand account. You know what I mean? So it's all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now that we are in the digital age, like who's recording like history of today?
Well, I mean,
like, how does that happen?
The thing is, like, it's one funny thing when anybody said, like, when I was younger, like, man, imagine if you had the world's information at your fingertips,
right?
How much smarter we would be.
Yeah.
And it's made us stupider. You know what I mean? Because it is because that's the problem, is a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's on the internet, it has to be true. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that one thing that I don't think is being taught so much is like being able to dissect sources. And so to sort of be able to dig in to see like where is this coming from?
Like using, like having that critical thought of like, where is this information coming from?
Like critical thinking, skills to be like, because he said, okay, who's writing it? I mean, right now, it's being written, in the news, it's being recorded because, someone is reporting, there was a earthquake yesterday. There was, there's video footage on there. I mean, we're basically documenting stuff in real time, now with like YouTube and Twitter and TikTok, and, whatever, that kind of stuff. So you are documenting certain things, firsthand. There's news organizations. Obviously, some of them have biases, some of them don't, or actually all of them have biases, but some of them are more open about it and some of them aren't, kind of thing. Yeah. But then even stuff that you don't even think about, man, like, your Facebook post or your Twitter post. I mean, that's historic, because that someone 20 years from now, 30 years from now might be like, oh, I want to know what people thought about this. And they go look for a search and your tweets come up, and then, or your Facebook posts come up, and then they're like, oh shit. Or even somebody like, let's say 20 years from now doing a study on like podcasting, and they go looking for podcasts, and then they come across your stuff. I mean, that's a historical document. You know what I mean? Like, you're writing it right now because they're going to be able to be like, okay, how was that thing going on during, the 2020s, how was that going on, and what kind of things were being talked about, or, whatever. I mean, so it's kind of, in a way, we are writing it. Yeah.
That's a weird concept, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean
that's strange.
Well, people, like I said, like, I mean, think about stuff like, like the Diary of Anne Frank. She was writing. That was for her. Yeah. She wasn't writing that for anybody else. But what she was writing, after the war, her dad published it, and that ended up becoming a firsthand account of what happened to that little girl during that time. Or people that like would write letters back home during World War II or the Civil War, or, newspaper articles, or, whatever. It's like, at the time they weren't thinking that it was going to be like historically significant, but like, I mean, like, we're living through history right now. We just, we're coming out of a pandemic, whatever. We lived through that, all the recessions we've lived through. Yeah. I mean, I was in high school when 9/11 happened. That was a big historic, moment, that happened in my lifetime. The Challenger, whatever space shuttle that blew up, all these things that are happening while you're living, they're historical moments. And however if you decide to go and tweet about it or do whatever, that ends up becoming part of like the historic record. It ends up being something that gets pulled in a newspaper article, or, in the future when they go back and do things for textbooks. I mean, shit, I was looking at somebody talking about visiting a museum that had like artifacts from the 90s, and you're like, whoa. You're like, wait, like I played with that Game Boy, I like was playing on that Macintosh. I was playing Reader Rabbit on that thing, you know what I mean? And now it's like a relic in a museum. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, what?
Amber and I were watching American Graffiti last night. So that film was filmed in 1972, and it was based on the early 1960s, and that's 10 years from now. But we also had a thought like what if it was based on like the 1950s, and that was only 20 years ago? And she was like, well, like, what would 20 years ago be like now? And I said, that's only 2000, dude. Yeah. That's not even that was just and think about it, dude. It's not even like in our mind, it's not that long, but like from you think about 1970, and then go 20 years back, and that's 1950s. Totally different time frames. But maybe because we lived in the 2000s, and then now, I mean, does it seem like a significant time?
No, not at all. Not for me.
Think about Back to the Future. When did that movie take place? In the 80s, right?
Yeah.
What time period did he go back to?
2015, right?
No, I'm back when he went to.
okay.
With his mom. You know?
In the 50s.
Yeah.
All right. So if they did that movie now, what time period would that take place in?
Yeah, like
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's trippy, man. It's crazy, but like I said, I mean, we're living in it, even if we don't know that we're living in what's going to be significant in the future. I mean, what happened recently? That bank that just failed, at Silicon Valley Bank. I don't know if you heard about it. It's the biggest failure of a bank since 2008, since Washington Mutual failed.
Wow.
So right now, all that stuff's just coming out, but we're living it, you know, and then, some 10 years from now, they're going to be like, oh, this is the biggest bank failure since 2023. You know what I mean? It's that kind of stuff that, because we live in this like this information age, everything just comes out. Like I'm like, I don't know about you, man, but I'm tired of living through historical. Like,
yeah, seriously. Give us a break. Do you know how often like history books come out, like textbooks, right? Like from school. Like I remember my history books. I mean, yeah, they dated back, but then they also dated like civil rights and things like that. And I'm thinking now, like, how often is a history book?
Javier, before you answer that, you're good on time?
Oh yeah, no,
okay, I'm gonna run to the head.
No, I'm Lionel Richie, man. I'm easy like Sunday morning.
There we go. And then also shout out to our friends over there at Minor Figures for sending us some product. I am sipping on an oat latte, and that's coffee and oat milk.
Yeah, I got oat chai latte, and
how is it?
It's delicious.
It's really good.
It's really good.
That's what I'm drinking too. It's really.
You got it? They're really good. We drink them at least every morning, I want to say, but they're really tasty.
Yeah,
so
super good.
Thanks, guys, for sending that.
Yeah. So I'm not sure, Amber, like how often they get published. It truly depends on because there's books being written all the time, right? Yeah. So I remember when I was in college, which was. I mean, I graduated high school in 2002, but I went through community college for a bit. And then in 2008, I went to like UC Merced. And when I was there, I remember we read a book about the Taliban. Somebody wrote a textbook about the Taliban, not a textbook, but a book that we used as a textbook in one of my classes. And it was a book that was written, like a few years before. So it's like somebody said, hey, you know what, this thing that's going on with the Taliban, and the poppy fields and all this kind of stuff is significant. I'm going to write a book about it, and so they wrote a book. And so it's a book dealing with a specific subject, but somebody wrote about it. As far as like school textbooks are concerned, I'm pretty sure because it's like bureaucratic, I'm pretty sure it's like every like 20 years or something like that. Yeah. It probably has to be because
that's what I kind of figured. It just, like that current.
Yeah. Because it I remember when I was in high school, I think my textbook, I was in high school from 98 to 2002. I think my high school textbooks ended like with like the fall of the Berlin Wall, which was like in the late 80s.
80s, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like you had all this stuff in the 90s and that wasn't in there, Because
I know like in college too, I remember like semesters when I was taking psychology, it's like every semester that I took a class, it was like a different textbook. And it was like, no, you can't get that volume because there's been things change. Like even if it was like a page or two, there was always something being rewritten. I know that for college, they're always like, changing. So that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, no, well, the thing with that is money with the college books. I worked in the college bookstore, and that's what it is. Is like sometimes there's not that much of a difference from one edition to the other, but it's just because they're like, oh well,
they want to get their money for it.
Yeah. But with the like high school or like junior high like textbooks, like some of those are fucking old.
Dude, my professor from Chafe, huh?
Where'd you go?
I don't know. Where am I? What happened?
I don't know. Oh, there you go.
There it is. Anyways, he's probably hunting right now. My professor from Chaffey College, dude, all his political science books were written by him. Isn't that crazy? Every single one that I had to purchase was written by him. And when I got the book, I didn't really look at the specs of it. I was like, okay, this is the book that I need to get, right? So they got shipped to my house, and I was like, why does this name seem so familiar? And then I looked at him like, oh, really, dude? This guy, like, that's a good way to get some book sales if you're a professor and you wrote the book. But isn't that's crazy how we were talking about, like, you like, what if he had different biases, or God forbid that would happen? Like, what if he had, like, he wanted to, I'm not saying it was, but maybe he had like some sinister type of other agenda that he wanted to push. That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's always super weird with that. But yeah, I mean, that's the reason why, when you go to college, you can challenge, professors on stuff, and like, make your voice heard, be like, hey man, like, you can go to the administration and be like, hey, I don't think it's cool that
was weird.
This dude's, making me buy 5 books, and they're all by him.
They're all written by him. Yeah.
It's like a picture book of all pictures of him. Is that what he's making you buy? Weird.
I had some cool professors.
It's like a calendar. It was like, why do I need to buy a swimsuit calendar for my political science class? It's weird.
Feet pictures of himself.
Yeah.
No, luckily I had some cool professors that, like, if it was something that they wrote,
it
was like, just photocopied stuff, and it was like just cost the paper that it was printed on, kind of thing. And it was always like a variety of things. And I had some professors that I've had that were like, dude, you can find all this shit online. Just get it from there. Like, we don't need to, like, do all that. But no, yeah, man, that's the thing, is that, I feel like being a critical thinker is super important, and be able to like dissect sources. So, like, if you went, and you say, hey man, like, this doesn't seem right because this is all one-sided, or whatever, then if you know how to dissect that, you're like, hey, you can go and make a case to why that shouldn't be happening,
right? Yeah, I mean, like, even okay, so that was a few years ago, but like recently, what I started getting, not recently, but like a few months ago, whatever. Time doesn't matter. Time is irrelevant right now.
Time is relative.
Time, right. We got to Google search what that word is for me, ladies and gentlemen. Not only I don't know Spanish, but I know only very little English as well. No, but like, what book was it? Say, for instance, The Open Veins of Latin America, right? Mm-hmm. During that time in Central America, there were also the same slavery happening in Northern America. And I was like, why? Of course, maybe you learn that in world history, but it was just so, like, I found it so fascinating that, like, the same thing was happening, but just like, 1,000 miles away in a different country. Like, people being taken over. There's a book. People being taken over for resources of the land, and same thing was happening in North America around this time. During the early 1800s, and even before that too. And it was just weird. Like, putting those time lines together, like what was happening in the same amount of time and space. Yeah,
no, it definitely goes back to what Amber had asked about. Like, it's because what's on the standardized test,
right?
That's it. It's like, basically, I mean, when I was going to school, I think it was called the Stanford 9 or something. So it's basically like, what's going to be on that test, because that's how they gauge what So it's basically going to be like, well, what's on that test? It's probably going to be American history, and it's probably going to be like, who was the first president of the United States? What amendment, freed the slaves, that kind of sort of thing. So that's why you probably don't learn that in high school, unless you have like a special interest and you join a group like some Latin American history society or that kind of thing. But once you go to college, you have that ability, right? Or you take like a world history class, right?
Yeah.
But even in the world history class, you might not learn, it might be like 1 week, or like one class where you learn about all of this. And
have you read that book?
I have it. I think I vaguely remember it, so I think I might have started it and I never finished it. But yeah, when you said it, I knew exactly what you were talking about.
It's great, dude.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Like my copy is in the next room over, and I have just post-it notes of just notes and notes, because I'm like, we probably talked about this before, but I'm like super fascinated in like the 1960s and even the stuff that was happening in Cuba in the 1960s, in Central America in the 1960s. I was like, whoa, hold on. San Francisco was a pretty hot spot in the 1960s. But even Cuba, I mean, of course, with the Cuban Missile Crisis too, and everything like that. But I mean, aside from like political stuff, like there was even still slavery going on in the 1960s in Cuba.
So there's so many things, like you said, like that you don't learn about until you start digging into stuff. I mean, I took a history of Mexico when I was in community college. And like learning about like the Tlatelolco massacre in 1968 in Mexico City, like I had never heard of that. I mean, obviously I'm here, but just learning about things like that, because you look at like the like you said, like the counterculture movement that was happening here,
right?
And sort of like the the protests of the Vietnam War and civil rights movement and all that kind of stuff. But like because it's sort of like America centric, you realize that all that stuff was going on in other places with other things. And, and like it's like the Tlal and then T-E.
T-E?
Tlalte. T-L-A-T-E.
Over here.
Yeah. And just the massacre.
How do you pronounce that? What is it called?
Tlatelolco.
Tlatelolco.
No, Tlatelolco.
Treinta loco.
Yeah,
no?
Tlatelolco.
T-L is
Tlatelolco. And that was basically like it was a lot of college students that were like protesting. I think it was the Olympics that were coming to Mexico City.
Oh, really?
And they were trying to basically like embarrass the government, because right before that, and then supposedly the official government story I think was that like the protesters started shooting at them, and then the Mexican military responded later on, talking about conspiracy theories and things like that. Supposedly it was like secret. Intelligence people from the government that started that were the ones that like shot at the military in order to start the massacre. So it's like that kind of stuff. Yeah. But yeah, that was a huge dark day in Mexican history.
Wow.
Well, I didn't know this. That's crazy.
Dang. Yeah, history is fascinating.
Yeah, if I remember, do you guys ever watch that movie Roma?
Yeah, I have.
I think if I remember correctly, I think this takes place in that movie. If I remember correctly, I might be misremembering, but yeah, that's.
You might be right.
Yeah,
I just didn't make the connection. Oh, that's cool.
President calls massacre. I'm not gonna.
I'm not gonna even try.
I'm not gonna try it. Marchers for a peaceful event. Dang. 1968. Wild times, dude. Mexico.
It's crazy.
Dang.
So is there anything that you collect, like history wise? I mean, I know in one of the your podcast that you were talking about the Vandecamp, right? You said you collected like mugs or something or things with that memorabilia. But are there other things that you collect?
Well, so yeah, for sure, like books. I have a lot of like, history books. I kept all my textbooks from college, all my history books. I kept all of them. I sold all the other ones, but the history ones, I kept them. But yeah, my wife's always like, "What did you buy?" I'm like, "Oh, I bought something on eBay." She's like, "What did you buy?" Recently I bought a pie tin from Knott's Berry Farm.
Oh.
A what?
A pie tin, like a tin.
Oh, a pie tin.
Yeah, pie tin, yeah. From because the thing is now when they make the pies, they're like if you want to go, it's like the aluminum cheap ones. This is like a hard tin that says like Knott's Berry Farm on it. Yeah, it came, and my wife was like, "What did you buy?" Like, yeah, I bought like on the right, like you go, yeah, sort of like that, but like like one of those, yeah.
Oh, he just bought like a regular.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wait,
I just bought a pie tin recently from yeah. So mine is probably one of those pictures that popped up there, but yeah, just literally one of those.
The one on Etsy.
Yeah, because all happy.
I just sold this to Javier.
Was this you? I know
for $1,000.
Yeah,
I got him.
That probably was her. Yeah, no, like I tell you, like, so there's certain things that I'm like, obsessed with, right? So like, one thing is fruit labels, like fruit crate labels, because those like the fruit crate? Yeah, labels? Fruit crate labels. Yeah. So if you look up, actually go Google Label Man. So just Label Man. This guy is really cool. He's out in Chico. Go to all, because it's probably going to be like on that. Yeah, right there, the first one. Yeah. So
oh, I see what you're talking about.
So all these labels that they used to slap on like wooden crates back in the day to like I actually have a book on the history of fruit labels. But basically it's like that was like advertisement for California. It's basically like you would slap a thing on there that had like a nice like a bunch of orange orchards and like the mountain in the background, and be like, oh, look how beautiful California is. It was like selling California to the rest of the country.
Oh, I lost it.
Rialto and Redlands are huge in citrus fruits, right?
Well, the citrus industry started in Riverside. Like it kicked off. Like there's actually they call it the parent navel orange tree. Basically, like all navel oranges like can be traced back to this one tree in Riverside. Wow. And so it's just like it played a huge role in the development of California and a lot of these counties and cities. But yeah, it's just
Claremont.
Like all these sort of like advertisement for California. It was like, hey, look how beautiful it is. So I have 2 labels that I've bought from that dude. I bought one called I think it was like the Mission Orange Crate label. And then I have one from Whittier that's like the Avocado King
cool.
label. And then Vandecamps, I found a picnic set on eBay. It was like four Vandecamps mugs. It came with a coupon to save 10 cents off a Vandecamps cake. I think I missed the thing that expired in 1986.
How do you spell it?
It's VAN and then space and then DE.
That's right.
And then space and then camps with a K, KAMP.
And that's that blue and white packaging, right?
It has the like a what is called a
windmill, yeah.
Windmill.
I mean, right now they're famous for like that coffee shop one, because they're famous for fish sticks, because I was part of their thing at the restaurant.
See,
but also
these are the donuts.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
these were the forbidden donuts in my house. If these donuts were in my house, it was because my dad went to the grocery store with my mom. That's the only reason they were at my house.
Oh, so it's these ones. And you were saying, dude, in your podcast too, that they used to have like brick and mortars around Southern California.
Yeah, it was huge. Like they were like a whole chain, like up and down. Like
those crumb donuts are so good.
Yeah, they started like as a potato chip. Like they started selling potato chips out of like a storefront in downtown LA. But then there was a potato shortage, and then they had to like switch. So they started selling like baked goods, and then that was a hit. So then they opened up a coffee shop, and every bakery store or coffee shop they opened, they had this like windmill that they had. This designer, if I remember correctly, he like was a set designer on like a bunch of really famous movies. And they designed this thing to be iconic. As this windmill for them, and the coffee shops were famous for donuts and cake and their fried halibut. So then they got into the frozen food business. And then when the guy Theodore Vandecamp was one of the founders, passed away, they split the company in two. So they said, okay, we have the frozen food division and the bakeries. So frozen foods is still good. Vandecamp's fish sticks are still in the grocery store, but the bakery went out of business. They filed for bankruptcy like in the 90s. Rouse was still using the name Vandecamps for a bit. But then they just switched over to Kroger, so now you can't find Vandecamps. But one of the cool things is that Theodore Van de Kamp's granddaughter is actually working with somebody that was a master baker at the bakeries, and they're like trying to like, because obviously like this was large scale, so it's really hard to take a recipe that was like on a factory like level and then put it down to your home, like a household thing. But she's working with this guy to like revive some of these recipes, and supposedly spring of this year they're gonna start selling like at farmers markets in Orange County. So I'm looking forward to that because I want to be able to like go down there and have some of these like cookies and donuts, you know, from.
Wait, so I can't have the powdered donuts anywhere?
So those powdered, so you can find like.
I'm like, wait.
So the closest that you're gonna get is Entenmann's. It's the same thing. It comes in a blue and white box, same color, but Entenmann's is from, I believe New York. But like Van de Kamp's, like nah, like I've tried like when I started doing the research, I'm like, no, I kind of remember, and I went to Ralph's and did all this kind of thing, and then I'm realizing like, no, man, I missed the boat by like 7 or 8 years.
Oh, so it's been that long since?
Yeah, it's been that long since they stopped. I mean, the bakery went out of business like in the 90s, but like I believe like Ralph's was still using the name for like the stuff that they would make in house, and then now they just call everything Kroger. So like back like 5 or 6 years ago, they started just saying Kroger cookies or Kroger donuts or whatever. But yeah, and that liquor store is pretty interesting because that's like one of like the first one that says LA Avenues Project. That used to be one of their like bakery stores, so that's why it looks like that. They just took the windmill off of it. But yeah, the only one that's still standing is the one in Arcadia. But all the time I pass by like Denny's or something like that, and I see those like that like wavy like that looks like a upside down paper plate kind of thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, that used to be a Van de Kamp's because it has that design. Oh, dude, with the Wonder Bread and yeah. Like,
you unlocked there used to be one.
Core memory unlocked.
Yeah, yes. there was one in the neighboring city, and I just remember the smell. I could smell it.
Yeah,
and it was all the stuff that they would pull like from like the grocery stores,
or like day old bread or whatever. Yeah, when I was a kid, I grew up like the first 5 years we lived in South LA, and there was a Weber's.
That's what
bread.
it was.
Oh, Weber's. Yeah.
Bread.
I couldn't remember what it was called.
They had one in Whittier right there on Washington Boulevard.
Yeah, they were all over the place too. Like they were like a huge Southern California thing. The factory's still there. I like that. I was actually planning on making a video.
That's what I was looking for right here.
Yeah, I was actually planning on making a video on that, but there's so little like information like on that. And it's cool because I kind of felt vindicated on my research skills because I actually reached out to the LA Public Library, to a librarian, and said, hey, I'm doing research on this. You know, do you guys have any sort of like documentation or something on Weber's? And then they were like, we don't, but here's stuff that I found that, you know, is pertinent, and everything that they sent me is stuff that I had already found. So I was like, hey, look, I'm pretty good at this research.
Wow.
Because this librarian sent me the same things I found.
Yeah.
You know? But
cool.
The building is still there in on Slauson in like South LA, but now it's been turned into like it's like I think they call it like the Weber Community Center. It's like a bunch of like community resources and stuff like for like the like homeless and like people to get like psychiatric help and like medical help and that kind of stuff. But the building is still there and the sign's still there, so it's pretty cool.
So what do you do in that type of situation where like you reached out to that librarian, she gives you the same, or they whatever give you the same type of information? Like what do you do from there?
So what I'm thinking of starting to do, because there's a couple of those that are very like minimal information. And I think I'm just gonna make them like a short video, be like, hey, look, you know, whatever shorts, you know, 30 seconds long. It's like, here's this building, this is when it was founded, this is all the information I found, and this is what it is now. Like really, really quick, you know, because I can't find any like historical. I've kind of put them off to the side, but now I think that's what I'm gonna do is just make like shorts, you know, like on YouTube or like on Instagram, like the reels are like a minute long or something. So I think I'm gonna start making ones because there's a place recently in Whittier that some real estate office was renovating a building, and they removed the facade, and then there was like a painting from the 1920s from this bread company, and same thing. I went looking for that bread company, and all I could find was that it was founded in Long Beach in like 1929.
Whoa!
And I found like 1929, 1928, and there was like one picture that I was able to find of like one of their bread trucks. And I'm like, you know, like, oh, well, I don't have that much information, but I'm like, you know, this is cool. I should make a video because people could see this mural and be like, hey, look, this is something that is historic. You know, that was hiding behind this wall for, you know, 100 years or whatever.
Any idea of who the artist might have been for that?
That no idea, no. But it was crazy because I drove by it and like the colors were super vibrant, and it was crazy to think that this thing has been behind his wall for decades.
It's like a long lost mural from like Diego Rivera or something.
Well, there was one. There's one in Olvera Street, like that center from I think from Cicados.
Really?
Yeah, like I took a tour.
So from who? From what?
Alfredo Cicados. He's another famous Mexican muralist.
I'm tapping into the Mexican
that's good.
to the Mexican art.
That's good. Alfredo Cicados was another one.
Look him up. Yeah, you read my mind.
Yeah, look up Alfredo Cicados and then like Los Angeles mural. It's SIQUE. There it is, Cicados, and then just like add like Los Angeles, because I guess he had painted this mural.
He looks like David Lynch. He's like the Mexican David Lynch.
He painted this mural, and I guess they didn't like it. Yeah, it's right there.
Oh yeah, I can see how they wouldn't like that one.
And I guess it had been like painted over or covered, and then recently they restored it. And it's like on this rooftop of this building.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's still there,
yeah, it's
like
there.
now?
It's there now. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
I want to go.
All right.
Dude, every time that you do a video on something or I hear one of your podcasts, I put it on the list. Amber, we gotta go. We gotta go. Same thing happened with the Cabazon dinosaurs, and then
you guys went. Yeah.
we did the On Our Way episode.
Which, by the way, I like fucking watch religiously. Like,
Oh my god.
I love the On Our Way, and I was glad when you guys went. I was like, hell yeah, they went to go visit the dinosaurs, man.
Yeah.
That's again like like the connection to Knott's Berry Farm. Like I'm obsessed with.
Yeah, that's super weird.
And, like programmatic architecture and all that stuff. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's one of my favorite places to drive by and visit.
Yeah, even the whole creation, what was it? It was like a creation library or something like that. What was it?
Creationists.
Yeah.
Yeah, they I guess when they sold the restaurant, the Wheel Inn, and then they sold the dinosaurs to some creationists, and they put a little display there where there was like monkeys riding dinosaurs and like knights fighting dinosaurs, and, all kinds of stuff. They had
awesome.
They had signs around in there basically saying like, don't believe the hype. I wasn't, I didn't, like I wasn't evolved or something. I forget what the signs were all over the place.
That's what happens when you give flat earthers money.
Yeah. But afterwards, I guess they saw, they're like, you know what, maybe we should get rid of this stuff. And then because I when I put that video, a lot of people were telling me like, oh, I'm never going back because of the creationist
Really?
thing. And then I was like, dude, I just
Still go check it out.
I went. There's nothing there. And then they started painting them, for the holidays, like a different, things like
when we went, wasn't it?
Christmas.
It was Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
The T-Rex was in like a Santa suit. Yeah. You said that there was a restaurant there. Is that the Burger King now?
No, so where the Burger King is at, like right across from the Burger King, there's like an empty lot now. The only thing that's there is a sign that says the Wheel Inn. That was the whole thing, is that he worked at Knott's for, I don't know, you want me to give you history or whatever, but like he worked at Knott's. He bought like 62 acres in Cabazon, and he built the diner called the Wheel Inn. And in order to draw people there, he built the Brontosaurus, Denny the dinosaur, because that was his thing. He, like, when he was a kid, he went to Jersey and saw this elephant called Lucy the elephant. It was this building shaped like an elephant. So he built Denny the dinosaur to call attention, to the restaurant. And then he built the T-Rex, but that restaurant closed in 2013, and then they tore it down in 2018. But the only thing that's left is a sign. But that place was famous because they came out in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. That's where Large Marge drops them off in front of the Wheel Inn. And for a while they had in the movie they have like a memorial to Large Marge in one of the booths.
Did they really?
Yeah, and that was there at the restaurant. They kept it there. So it was a lot of Pee-wee fans that used to go just specifically to go eat at the booth where Large Marge, her memorial was.
How well, obviously you're pretty into like history with movies and stuff because it's like part of your everyday life, right? Dang, dude. What's this? His
I was trying to find the
her Large Marge's voice and her face will be forever imprinted in my mind for the rest of my life, ladies and gentlemen.
Funny. You know, I'm like real quick, and I don't know if it'll interest you, but my sister bought a home years ago, and in the garage she found like a chest, and the person that sold her the home was the niece of the people that live there. So she was like, I don't want anything. Whatever's there, if you'd like to keep it, keep it. If you don't, just throw it away. So there was a big chest, and it was from like World War I, I believe. So my sister opens it, and there's a stamp book. There's a stamp book, and it's like stamps from everywhere that this person, that was in the army, traveled. And then there was letters that he wrote while out to his wife that lived in that home. So she collected them and then put them in the trunk. So I have those, and they're like dated, stamped. You can see where they're coming from. I mean, I've read every single like letter that's in there. They're really, really cool. I try to keep them like airtight so that it still keeps like like nice and crisp, but I try not to touch them often. But I'm a nerd when it comes to things like that. I collect stuff like that. I collect like really weird pictures of people. I know a lot of people are like, I don't believe in it, but a lot of people are like, oh, you're gonna bring in spirits, and I'm like, it's okay. And I'll actually put them up. Like they're my family, in my room. They're weird, but I'm
like,
really
who is that? Is that your grandma? No.
Is that your grandma? Like, no, I just picked it up. Like those are the things that I like that I collect. But I know they're a little.
No, that's fascinating. Because that's a glimpse. It's a glimpse into somebody's life, but it's also a glimpse in history. It's like those stamps and the letters. I'm sure they might be valid, but who knows, man? Maybe somebody was doing research on that family tree, and then you have those things, and
Oh yeah. Dang. Her letters are gonna come up on like the History Channel or something. Yeah. Hey, you never know.
You don't. I don't. I really don't. They're really cool, and he talks about like what's happening, and he misses her, and then at some point he's like, "Can you send me money?" And like, they're really cool. It's pretty fascinating. It's about 30 letters, so wow. It's yeah.
Over, do you know over the course of how many months or years?
Say it's like 5 years.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you can tell the difference too in the stamps and everything. It's pretty cool.
What's your favorite time period? Do you have a favorite time period? I know you discussed like your love for the architecture and.
Yeah, I guess for the architecture, I would love to be able to like go back and drive like in the 20s, not for like the civil rights and that kind of stuff, obviously, but like just if I could go back and be invisible or
white
or whatever, yeah.
Go back in time and be white. I've always said that because I'm like Mexican, no.
Yeah, definitely. Like I would love to go back and see the all that roadside architecture, because like in the video I did about the tamale. Or the tamal, because I know some people are like, oh, tamale, that's it, the tamal.
Mm-hmm. By the way, which we were discussing on how it's made and how you said it looks like a candy. Mm-hmm. But then, Amber, you said you're like, oh, well, that's the way that my mom makes a tamal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do like Sinaloa style.
Okay.
And we actually tie both ends, so it does look like it looks exactly like that tamal.
Because I specifically remember, because in the podcast you said you're like, I don't know who would make a tamal like this.
And I was like, hey, we make tamales.
No, I think I said it doesn't look like any of the tamales.
Oh yeah, there we go. Sorry, I don't mean to misquote you. That's why we have you here.
Yeah, I was trying to because I knew, I was like, I like Amber's gonna say something.
And you're like, maybe, and Amber was like, oh, maybe the guy that had the tamal stand was was from Sinaloa, right?
And then we looked him up, and he was white.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, never mind.
Well, that was the thing is that like back in those days, like
See, this
tamales
is what
were,
ours
yeah,
look like.
yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah, no, back in the day, like at the turn of the 1800s, like that was the street food in LA. Like tamales were like the street food, and you literally had, like Mexican, Chinese, white, I think Asian, even some black tamal vendors that would sell tamales. And so it's basically like the food trucks of today, like, and I don't know, like I want to shout out Gustavo Arellano, who's one of my like personal heroes. He has a great book called Taco USA, How Mexican Food Conquered the World, or conquered America, sorry. And he talks about that in that, like how the, tamales were like the street food of the 1880s and early 1900s. But yeah, that building is one of my favorite ones, driving down Whittier Boulevard. But you could literally,
it's a beauty salon.
You're all getting your hair cut inside of the
Well, the thing is, there was a dentist next door too. So but yeah, if you went down Whittier Boulevard in the 20s, you could have passed by the Oil Can Inn, which looked like a oil can, and the tamale, and go to the dugout, which was like it looked like a plane crashed into like a bunch of sandbags or whatever. But there was all kinds of crazy restaurants like Tail of the Pup. I mean, obviously Tail of the Pup is a little later, but like there was an ice cream place that was shaped like an owl. There was a Bulldog Cafe.
Oh, you talked about this one too, huh?
Yeah, the chili bowl. Yeah. So all of those is just I just love that sort of like I said they call it programmatic architecture. I've heard it called roadside vernacular architecture too, and mimetic or something like that. But yeah, all those funky buildings shaped like stuff. There's that ice cream place.
Oh, there's an ice cream. Oh, yeah. Look at the pyramid head.
Yeah, that's for a real estate office. It's called I think it was called like Great Sphinx or something. Real estate. Yeah. Or even like the Citadel outlets, when you drive by the 5 freeway, you see that the Citadel outlets that used to be a tire factory. And it was called Samson Tires. And the guy wanted it to look like this Assyrian king's like castle or palace. Unfortunately for him, he did that right before the Great Depression. So Samson, they had to sell it to like another tire company called Uniroyal. And then afterwards, the city of Commerce bought the property, and then they managed to find somebody to, turn it into the outlets, but kept the outside looking like the castle. So it's kind of cool that they kept that, because we live in a world where everybody just wants to tear stuff down. So it's kind of cool that they kept it. Yeah.
They also have the donut hole
in La Puente.
La Puente. Yep. I remember seeing that. Yeah. So there's not really any specific time period that you're interested in.
I mean, we're talking about Amelia Earhart. I would love to go back and just fucking settle that once and for all. See what happened. But no, I mean, for that, I would love for the programmatic architecture.
Yeah. And it was mainly in the 1920s.
In the 20s was like the heyday, because that's when people were starting to like
there
drive.
It is.
I've never been here.
Yeah, it's cool because you literally drive through the donut hole.
On our way.
Yeah, exactly. You should do it on our way. Yeah, you should do that. Yeah, drive in, and then when you go in there, they have like you can see the donuts displayed inside the tunnel.
Oh yeah.
And then you drive up and you order it. And
Amber, you'll love this.
Yeah,
you'll love it. And then we'll do the episode as I'm ordering. And we can fight about how many donuts that I purchase. Yeah.
What's your go-to, man, on the donuts?
Regular, just chocolate bars.
Chocolate bars.
Yeah. What about yours?
I like, so my dad used to like the old fashioned. Like just like the ones that are like, they look like a cake or whatever, like cake donuts or whatever.
I was gonna say something. It was an exploded butthole, but no, that's not that one. I'm thinking like a cruller or something.
Yeah. I love maple bars.
Maple?
Yeah, maple bars and apple fritters. Like apple fritter is I think people sleep on the apple fritter.
People sleep on the crumb donut from Vandekamps, dude. Since I was like a little wee Gill, I've always I don't know why I gravitated towards the crumb donuts. Yeah. And even crumb donuts at like regular donut spots do not taste like that. I think I was so like ingrained in or being brought up with that particular product and just the way it tasted. it changed my palate.
You should try the Entenmann's. I think that's the closest you can get to Andy Camp's is the Entenmann's, and they sell them at Ralph's too. So
Did you ever go to the original Taco Bell, the one right there in Downey? Or what they say was the original?
Yeah, so it was right there. It was called Raul's Tacos. I don't think I ever went. No, I did go to Raul's Tacos once. But it's funny, because they opened up that the other Taco Bell right across the street from it. Mm-hmm. And then luckily they saved it. Like the Taco Bell now is in the parking lot.
Right?
Yeah, it's in the parking lot of the Taco Bell headquarters in Irvine.
Yeah,
and that's the original one.
Yep, that's the original one.
See, right here they literally extracted the entire building.
Because now I think where it used to be is an Amazon parking lot for like the Amazon delivery.
To Irvine.
Yeah.
I got to go, not when it was Taco Bell.
Yeah, I think it was Taco Raul.
Raul, yeah. Right here, look. This is when I went.
Oh.
And I was like, this looks interesting.
You can almost see, like you can almost see like different places in SoCal that used to be a Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Like,
They look like this.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
now, have you guys ever noticed that the ones that were Taco Bells like this are turned into like teriyaki chicken?
I've never seen that. No.
Have you guys? No.
So
I've seen.
What's the one on Paramount? What's that?
The one. Yeah, it's that was a Taco Bell.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it.
Golden Bowl.
Golden Bowl. Yeah.
There you go.
I used to go there all the time.
So
I lived the block away from
it.
Yeah, with avocado on top.
Yeah. See, you know. Did you ever have the teriyaki burger?
I didn't. No.
Dude, you gotta get the
teriyaki burger.
Dude,
Really?
I'm telling you, man. The go.
I'm sleeping on the teriyaki burger,
man. Just like people sleep on the Del Taco burger, man. The Big Del at Del Taco is fucking good.
Wait, I'm gonna be impressed if you know this and you live. How many years did you live in Peru?
8 years.
Did you ever go to and now it's called Amigos, but it used to be Cuatro Amigos back in the day for the nachos?
Mm-mm.
No. Those are my favorite nachos of all time, and it's literally just tortilla chips, carne asada, and nacho cheese over it, and it's like the best.
Where was it at?
On Somerset and Orange. It's still there, but I laugh because I'm like, now it's called Amigos because
tell us the history of Amigos.
So back in the day, when I was younger, when I was in elementary, it used to be called Cuatro Amigos, right? So I'm assuming they fought, and then it turned into Tres Amigos. And I'm not joking. It turned into Tres Amigos, and then I guess they fought again, and then it was Dos Amigos, and then now it's just Amigos. So they picked off all 4 Amigos. I don't know which friend stayed with it, but now it's just called Amigos. But yeah, if you're in Paramount on Somerset and Alondra, eat those nachos.
I have to check it out.
Yeah, you do. They're delicious.
They're pretty good. And I'm not a nacho person, but I don't know.
I make you eat those.
She does. That's like why is that? It's always the go-to. It's like, let's go to Los Amigos. All right. I guess. Because how I like to think that they're similar to is they're similar to the nachos, and she's gonna get offended by this.
I already know what you're gonna say, and I'm offended already.
To King Taco.
Fuck no.
I have a thing with King Taco.
Do you really?
Me too. I have a big bone to pick with King
I
Taco.
respect King Taco for what they did for, like, because basically King Taco invented the taco truck. Like, that's basically, it. Like, much respect for that. To think, let me get this old ice cream truck and turn it into a taco truck. Respect to King Taco, but the food sucks. I'm sorry. Like, I don't like King Taco. Like, I didn't grow up eating King Taco. My parents, my dad tried it once. My mom tried it once, and they hated it. I was like, well, maybe it's just my parents, ingrained that hate, whatever in me for it. And then I've been to the original King Taco.
Where's it at?
The original one is or like the first one is. I think it's right off the 710 freeway.
Yeah, right off the freeway.
Yeah, it's right off the 710 freeway.
Oh, that's cool.
And I've been to the one that's on Soto. And every single time I've been there, I have not liked it. And everyone's always like, "Oh, well, what did you order?" Or like, "Which one did you go to?" And I'm like, "Dude, look. If I go to In-N-Out in Bakersfield,
it's
or In-N-Out in Baldwin Park, or In-N-Out in Sacramento is going to be consistent. You know, the fact that they're like, oh, we should have gone to the Maywood one, or you should have gone to whatever. They're like, oh, but the red salsa is good. Oh, then change the name of the fucking place to King Red Salsa. you know what I mean? Like, because I'm sorry. Like, I know a lot. The thing is, I know a lot of people grew up eating it, so I think it's more of a nostalgia thing for them.
Yeah,
it is
because they grew up eating it.
It is.
I didn't grow up eating it, so that's why like I don't have that. So
yeah.
Although I will say this, I probably should go back and give it another shot. Maybe third time's a charm.
No,
but I as an adult, I've been there twice, and I just not a fan of it.
I think for me, and this is something that I told Gill when we first started like dating.
King Taco. Oh, wait, hold on. That's the
Oh, in this one.
That's the one that they have at the LA County Fair.
County Fair.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't think I've eaten so many tacos since I started dating Gill. Like, because I didn't eat tacos out on the street. Because to me, yes, I know that this is like our California taco, but my mom is from Ensenada. So I go to Ensenada very often. So I had the accessibility of eating, like Tijuana style tacos or Ensenada tacos. And to me, that's a taco. So when I would eat tacos here, I liked them, but to me, it was just the meat was just passed on a flat top. Like, it's not asada, you know what I mean?
It's like one thing to have like a fish taco of a fish that was swimming in the morning, and you're eating that dude in the afternoon, definitely.
Yeah, so that's why I am not impressed by a lot of taco shops, and I know that maybe I sound like snooty, but I'm just not, the closest that we get, or I get, that I think, and it's one of our favorite places, we go on Atlantic, right there in Compton, and there's a place that they're literally like asando the carne. The ladies making the tortillas. They put the guacamole. They do like the Tijuana style.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're in Compton too, so we're risking our lives, ladies and gentlemen, to go eat a taco.
It's not dangerous.
I know it's not that bad, but you were saying that how you haven't eaten that much Mexican food since you started dating. That's weird.
Yeah, because Mexican food for me was every day because my mom cooks Mexican food. And then Gill would be like, oh, let's go to this Mexican
She told me she was Mexican, so I wanted to impress her. So I took her to one of our first dates. We went out to a taco place that I used to follow on Instagram. And
what was it called?
Do you remember?
They're called
I don't want to burn them because they weren't that good when they were good when they cooked them on like a pop-up.
Yeah, the pop-up.
Okay.
They were really good on the pop-up, but
once they went brick and mortar.
Once they went brick and mortar, totally different.
Pobrecitos, but it just didn't. It was not the same.
Yeah.
You could tell they skimped out on like the quality of meat and things like that. And I think that's what maybe happened to King Taco. Maybe they were good at some point, right, when they first opened, and then opening so many chains. I mean, I think, like you said, you have the possibility of losing like authenticity of what your first.
How does In-N-Out stay consistent after almost 2,000 years of service?
I have
like, how does that happen, dude?
I
mean, have God on their
basically, we won't go there, but
keep the menu simple.
Yeah,
a funny thing was like my cousins from Texas, when they got In-N-Out over there, because for them, Whataburger is the thing. Whataburger, whatever. It's good. It's not. It's not In-N-Out. And I will say this: I don't think In-N-Out's the best burger ever, but it's good. It's solid.
Yeah.
But they said, they're like, oh, the In-N-Out over there sucks. And then they came In-N-Out here, and they're like, oh my God, it's so much better. And they're like, why is that? I'm like, it's probably because you're using Texas tomatoes and like Texas produce, because they're using whatever produce is local. So here, we grow like tomatoes and whatever, here in California, that feeds everywhere. And I'm like, so they're probably using some different type of tomato that's, closer to them. Because that was the whole thing with In-N-Out, right? Is that everything had to be within a 1-day drive from distribution center.
Right.
So they're in Texas. There have to be a 1-day drive or something near there. So they came out here and they're like, nah, dude, like the In-N-Out tastes way better here than it does over there. And they're like, it probably has to do with the tomatoes. So this was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. The tomatoes, the lettuce, maybe the pickles. I don't know.
Yeah.
The spread.
I don't know, but we've been talking about food this whole time, and you need to take me to eat. After
Let's go get some tacos.
this. Unless we're gonna drive all the way to Compton.
No,
yes.
we're gonna drive all the way to Paramount to get some nachos.
There we go. Dos Amigos. What is it gonna be next year? Then I wrote a bit about that, didn't I?
I think you did.
I did. I wrote a solid bit that was really funny, and that what happened to that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll think about it, but on the way. Javier,
Gill, man.
thanks for coming out, dude.
Thank you for having me again, man.
It is always a pleasure. We gotta do this again.
Of course,
Once
yeah.
a quarter, or once a month, or something. I gotta get my Californiography on.
Let's
but
do it.
go ahead and tell us what you got coming up.
Yeah, no. So you can follow me on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and all that stuff. Californiography, Californiography. Gil's gonna link the stuff here. And then I got some videos coming up for my trip to Northern California. So I'm gonna be doing a couple of videos on the places that we hit up on our trip to Northern California, and because I'm closer to Southern California, probably some other stuff down here. But whenever I get to it, because that day job keeps me busy. So yeah, look out for those Northern California videos though coming up.
Sweet.
How can we find your podcast?
It's good. It's on Apple Podcast and on Spotify. I should have the link in my bio and my link tree. If you go to my Instagram or my YouTube, it links to my link tree. Should right there. Yeah, right there to the right. Right there.
Right
Yep.
There we go.
Got it.
There it is.
Cool.
Bam.
Boom.
Yeah,
You're doing pretty good on TikTok too, huh?
Yeah, I think TikTok is kind of weird though. It's got like a lot of followers, but not as much as Instagram. But like TikTok's been doing some weird thing with the algorithm lately with views. Yeah, but it's all good, man. Whether 10 people or whatever 100 people watch it, it's all good. I'm doing this because I love doing it. Yeah. As soon as it starts feeling like a job, I'm gonna stop doing it.
We hope you don't.
Yeah, don't.
Cool.
I'll keep doing it just because you guys are watching it.
Oh, all right. There we go. I guess we can keep going with On Our Way, right?
Because you keep watching it.
The Mind Buzz Podcast. Thanks, Javier. Appreciate it, bud. Bye-bye, everyone. I love you.
Adios.
Bye. Wait, did you say that in Spanish?
That was me.
No, that was Javier.
I was like, dang.
I'm getting good.
You're getting
He's going to be my voiceover actor for
dumb.
Spanish.
Adios.
Peace out, guys. See you on the next one.